Well, hello there, travel agent achievers. Welcome back to another episode. I'm so excited that you're here today, and I'm super happy today. The reason for that is the positive news that's coming out about vaccinations and the increase of them globally, but also how the world is starting to open up again. And you know what? It's about time. Right? I have been forever hopeful and positive around all of this, but I just hope that today you are able to smile and know that you're not alone in this journey. And I'm really excited to see where you're going in the future. Now, today we have a special guest with us, Michelle Broadbent. Michelle is a business strategist with, 20-year career as a trusted advisor to female entrepreneurs across many industries. Now, this includes media, fashion, design, travel, of course, coaching, sales, training, and recruitment. Michelle and I we met several months ago, but we've been on this journey, and I see that there are similar areas that we've crossed in our business paths as well. And we'll go into that during this episode. She now runs her own business, transforming the businesses and the lives of their owners. She is the woman, or she says she's the woman behind the woman, their sounding board and cheerleader, and is passionate about seeing others succeed. Michelle is known for providing realistic, practical solutions and operational support together with out-of-the-box creative ideas, all served with the big dose of TLC. Now, she also has spent a decade in the travel industry, playing an integral role in building two startups from solo entities to thriving global brands. And I'm so glad that she's now doing this for herself. She's supported hundreds of women, and her superpower is being able to cut through the overwhelm that comes from running a business alone, removing the roadblocks, and identifying the right opportunities and resources to bring an idea to life. She has her own podcast, Michelle Broadbent, as a business strategist, but she also has, a beautiful family. She's a single mum to two girls, a teenager and an 11-year-old. She lives on the northern beaches of Sydney. I'm just so excited she's here. We are talking today about a number of different things, but I hope that you get a lot out of this as much as I do as well. All right, everybody, here is the wonderful Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the Travel Agent Achievers podcast. I'm so excited that you are here.
I'm so excited to be here too, Roz. Thanks for having me.
Can you just share a little bit? I've done a bit of an intro about your background, and I was saying that there are so many areas that you and I could have potentially met each other in the past and in our career and different things. But would you mind just sharing a bit about your background for the audience?
Sure. So I think our lives have crossed over in many, many ways. And I love that I'm speaking to the travel industry because it has always been a passion of mine. So I've always been the woman behind the woman, whether in small business and in big business. But I guess small business is kind of in my DNA. So my aunt, who I am super, super close to still, she had corporate travel agent businesses as I was growing up. So I used to hang out there in the school holidays. I always defaulted to her when I was between jobs, and I'd go and temp there and that sort of thing. So I loved it. But I actually, have worked in big business as well, but then ended up working in the television industry before I started my own business, worked in the television industry for a number of years. As I said, always been that sort of woman behind the woman. I helped two founders set up businesses from scratch. So they were the doer of the things, in terms of that sort of front and center person. And then I took care of all of the behind the scenes stuff and helped grow the business by, bringing in people to actually fill all of the roles that I was kind of just doing bits of as we grew. And funnily enough, the last role that I had within one of those businesses before I started my own business was I was selling in-flight entertainment. So I used to like work with all of the airlines and travel a lot and all of that kind of thing. So I loved that part of my job. But the travel and what was required to be really good and successful in that role just was not sustainable to me. You know, television and media, like, you know, I don't care what anyone says, but it is ideally suited to people who don't have a family. And it just wasn't working for me. I'd had my second child by then. I was missing out on birthdays and things like that. And it just didn't align with my values anymore. But I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't, you know, I don't know what to do once I leave my permanent job. So I left with an inkling that I wanted to start my own thing, but I wasn't 100% certain what that was. So I actually worked with a coach to help unlock that. And from that came the business as it was when it started, which was 5 years ago now. And I was very much sort of hands-on as like a business manager, supporting female entrepreneurs. But I knew that, like, I was kind of happy doing that for a while, but I knew that I wanted to do more and the sort of more big picture strategy, that kind of thing, advisory work, which is what I now do. And yeah, that's probably the long-winded version of how I got to where I am now.
I love it. Working in a travel agency, you know, with your aunt back in the day. I mean, when was your first international trip? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Disneyland as a teenager. That was, I mean,
wow.
How's that for, yeah. Yes. So I'm one of 4 kids, and my dad at the time, this is back in the 80s, was doing heaps of work in America. And yeah, I just remember him surprising us one day saying we're all going to Disneyland. So we went to Disneyland and Hawaii as like, I was a teenager and my brothers and my sister were younger than me. So it was the best. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I'll never forget that.
What an epic trip. You'll never forget that.
Never. Yeah.
Never, ever, ever. And the other thing there, hearing you say, I was the woman behind the woman. Have you heard of the book Rocket Fuel?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So were you the integrator?
I was, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Not necessarily the visionary. So for anybody out there, we'll add a link to the book if you want to have a read of it. It's one of the best books that I think I've read, Rocket Fuel, talking about the different roles in a business, having somebody who is generally the business owner. That's generally how it comes, is that you are the visionary and thinking big picture and the strategy, and then you have the right people in your business as the integrators, and the integrators are the ones that get out there and do all the jobs. They do the things for you. So I'm sure that you were the one also saying, hang on, that's parked fun for later. So working with these big business owners or small business owners, whoever they were, in your role as the woman behind the woman or the integrator. Was that hard to say, no, we're not doing that now? Or did you not have that opportunity?
Oh, no, I did. Like, I was, so it's fun. Yeah, they were the, like you said, the visionary, but a lot, like, I worked very tightly with them on the vision as well, because often what I was finding, particularly for the businesses that I worked for, those founders came from very large organizations where they had been for a really long period of time. So it was kind of, they only knew one way of doing things. Whereas because I had worked for a number of different size and scale organizations, I was exposed to different ways of doing things. So a lot of the time it was that it sounds awful to say, like, re-education. That's not in a like, well, I know the best way, so therefore your way's not so good. It was more like, look, actually, there are easier ways to do this. There are less complicated ways to do this. We don't need to do all of this all by ourselves. And I think of some of the stuff that we used to do, and also the value of bringing in experts as well was really, really important. So I think it definitely, I always waited until I had, like I call it, like my feet firmly under the desk before I started throwing my weight around. It's not like I would just walk into a business and go, hey, we need to reinvent
I can't imagine you
here.
ever doing that.
It was never like that. But then as I got more confident and had that real understanding, and I felt like that was always the thing that I needed to do, was have like a proper understanding of the industry and what was going on and who was who in the zoo and all of that sort of thing, to actually be able to have to make those educated decisions and to have an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So you also, I mean, you've worked in recruitment as well, and you and I have certainly aligned in that. That was one of my
long time ago.
careers. Now I know
military training there. Yes.
I've spoken to you before about this, and one of the things that I've heard you say was that you had to get on the phone and make 100 calls a day or something.
It was 100 calls a week. It was
100 calls a week.
Yeah.
See, this is where you and I differ. For me, you just got on with it. And I remember you saying that it was really hard, but you just did it. Whereas for me, that was the hardest thing, was to pick up and cold call. And I know that I'm not a cold call sales person at all. I am much more build a relationships, and things takes time. And I don't want to pick up and go, hey, have you got this job? Like, how did you find that?
Oh my God, it wasn't easy. Like I did resist it. And if you ask anyone that I worked with back in the day, I would find any excuse not to do it. But what I realized was that it was a numbers game. And that sounds pretty brutal, but and that came, it was like that sort of reluctant, like the reluctant acceptance, I guess it was. It's like, okay, if I do this number of calls, it will result in X number of client visits. And then from doing those X number of client visits, it did turn into jobs. And I couldn't argue the numbers. There was no other way of magically making stuff happen other than doing the work. And it's a practice that I have applied in so many, like particularly as a business owner myself now. It's just like you can fight it, and there's always different ways of doing things, but actually connecting with the clients and letting them know that you're, what you've got available, making it easy for them to buy from you, making it known what's happening, how you can help them. That, and I see it a lot with the women that I work with, they're almost too scared to tell people that they've got this great offer, or, they're the best kept secret in their industry. And it's like, that if you just start telling people and just follow follow the numbers, follow the bouncy ball, and then you will see the results. And I think too, when you start to see the results, then you feel confident about taking the action and continuing to take the action.
Yeah. So I talk about this as well as being the best kept secret, and being in travel, and as travel professionals, we understand, the deals, and we understand what's going on out there. But if we don't actually tell our clients what we're experts at, or the industry or the niche or who we work with, nobody will ever know. So I don't want any of the travel professionals, being the best kept secret, because we are damn good at our jobs and we know travel inside and out. And I want our clients to know that and also understand it. So it is down to the numbers. And I hear you with that. And I absolutely agree with you that if you send a certain amount of emails, if you are connecting with your clients and phoning them or sending them cards, like doing different things to connect and build those relationships, the sales will come.
They do. And I think it needs to, look, I will caveat this, that it does need to be genuine. Like
Absolutely. Oh my
there's
God.
those, it's like, hi, just reaching out. Like, no, but like it's so easy to figure out ways to connect with people that are genuine. And that is what business is. At the end of the day, especially in a service business, you're helping people. And as service providers too, I think we forget how valuable the stuff that we just know stuff because we do,
Which is no
right?
stuff, yeah.
And I think particularly with travel and obviously working in that world and I used to listen to all of the airline people and it was like they were talking a different language, right?
Correct.
But that was just how they spoke and it made sense to them. But I think as service providers, we do forget that we know things that other people don't know, and they will pay us for that, to be the interpreter of all the information, to be the one that, knows the secrets. They know where the secret deals are. They know where the absolute, don't go to that hotel. No, go to this hotel. Don't catch that flight. Don't connect through 6 different cities to save yourself $60. Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, people do need to be told, even though we know, and we think, well, doesn't everyone know that? They don't. They do not. We have to remember.
You work with a lot of different service providers and business owners in that sense. So is this something that comes up in general across different service industries?
Absolutely. It is a universal thing, because when you are talented at anything, where, like you guys are, but there are a whole, raft of service providers and you'll see it, you'll feel it yourself too. Like, you think if you go, maybe to a medical specialist or something like that, and they start speaking like you understand what it is that they're talking about. But if you are able to decipher and like be that sort of almost middleman, like the interpreter of the information, so that and I see that too with financial people, they talk finance jargon and you're sitting there going, I don't understand. But the ones that are doing super well, yes, but the ones that do super well are the ones that speak to us like we're not idiots, and they give us the shortcuts and they just make life easier for us. But I do see some people get too caught up in technicality of what they do, but but you need to be the one who can interpret that and find that connection between your customer and you, and just get rid of all of the fluff and the scary stuff, the jargon and all of that kind of thing. But yes, it is a problem. But then once you get around it and you realize, and it's kind of that real aha moment, it's like, oh my God, that people don't know how to do this. They need me to do this for them. And it's like, that's right, they do. So
exactly. It's something that we've been talking about within our Achievers community and mastermind, and amongst the travel agent achievers community in general, is showcasing your expertise, but also breaking it down. Over the last 18 months or 2 years now, we've come from a place where the bookings have just come in. The industry was absolutely booming. But then over the last 18 months, we've really turned into like risk management specialists and legal interpreters because of the terms and conditions that we're having to negotiate and read through and understand. And that is, I think, a really important skill that we need to tell our customers about, because they don't understand otherwise. They could very easily just go back to booking something online through an online aggregator, but they don't understand the issues and the troubles that they could get into moving forward as well. So I love that you're saying, don't be the best kept secret. You got to get back out there. You've got to showcase your expertise, but also break it down so that it isn't jargon. And I was just having a conversation exactly to the T about this with one of my private coaching clients. She was telling me all of these brilliant things. And I said, well, hang on a second. How does that actually work? Like, how does that happen? She said, and went off on another tangent. And I said, no. Let's stop and break it down, because when you're talking to a consumer, They want to know, how do I get the visa? How do I get from here to here? Why, what's included in these packages? So really breaking it down. And for an industry professional, and this is, I think, across any industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we do get so caught up in, well, that's the language that we use.
Yeah.
We might as well just use that everywhere, but not realizing that we've got to talk to the consumers slightly differently.
That's right. And I get them to, tell it to me like I'm a dummy. And because I am outside of their industry, most of the women that I work with, they're across a variety of industries. So I'm not really familiar with their, vernacular and all of that sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, so hold on a sec, just explain that to me. And I think that's what you need to, I do advise, like, check in with yourself, read. Isn't there there's some kind of 6-year-old reading thing where you can show someone your website or show someone your landing page or show someone, could a 6-year-old understand this?
There's actually a brilliant app. It's called the Hemingway app.
Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So Hemingway app is where you can put your text into, and it's a web browser. You just pop it, the text that you would write, pop it into the web browser, and it says, no, this is for a university student.
Yes.
You need to cut it down to a grade 6 or a grade 3 level or something.
Yeah.
So really breaking that language down. So Hemingway app, I love it.
Yes. Yeah, that's great.
Helpful. Really, really helpful. Okay. So moving on from that, I mean, we've got travel professionals across and different service providers that you've worked with, that you've seen, go from the struggles and come through to the other side. What would you see are some of the biggest areas of impact? What are some of the things that you would recommend business owners do to really get to reach their goals?
So if they're kind of in a bit of an overwhelmed state.
Because I know I wanted to talk about boundaries here for travel professionals, and I'll preface it by saying that a couple of years ago, so pre-COVID, the amount of business owners that I spoke to, particularly in travel, were overwhelmed. There was so much work that was coming in, but not understanding, how to do it differently or not necessarily cut corners, but have the processes and systems in place to be able to scale business and know what was coming in without missing deadlines, without missing ticketing things. And I spoke to so many travel professionals, and it still brings a tear to my eye hearing how they were, sitting in the bathroom crying because they didn't know how to, or didn't want to pick up the phone, didn't know how they were going to get through the work that they had accumulated, because that's what they'd always dreamt for. They'd started a business to be able to book incredible travel experiences, but were at a point where it was just too much. And the reason why they got into travel or to run their own business, and I think this is across the board with small business owners, is to create a lifestyle and to have the freedom and flexibility. And for us in travel, a lot of travel business owners are parents as well. So to be able to drop off kids, pick them up. But for me, it was, the boundaries. And I saw that something had to shift. So for you, working with so many different business owners, what are some of the things that you think could, improve that for the future?
Yeah. Sure.
Probably
so I think
clarified that question very well.
No, I totally understand what you're saying, Roz. And I will say that, hospitality, travel, that area of service provision is notoriously boundary bending work, because you are at the mercy of, when your clients need you. And if your clients are stuck in another country and they're not able to get out, and they're looking to you to get them home, it's not one of those scenarios when you can go, sorry, not taking calls after 3 today, because I understand that, right? And I'm sure that you are probably sitting there going, if she's going to tell us to ring fence our time and you've probably heard it all before in terms of protecting your time and that kind of thing. So I think what I want to I guess, reframe that is, yes, you are the boss of you. Like, that is something that I say all the time. And you, as a business owner, you dictate how people are going to work with you. So, for example, like if you think of like a dentist, for example, and something goes, you're sitting there chewing your dinner and you crack open the filling that your dentist has put in. Well, you're not going to call your dentist at home at 9 o'clock at night and say, hey, come around right now and fix the problem. Like, there's a kind of, there's a triage system that is involved. It's the same if you ended up at the hospital. You're not going to expect your GP to be there at 11 p.m. when you've fallen over and hurt yourself. So I think you need to look at, like, as an independent business owner, you can do anything. You are clever and capable, but you can't do everything yourself. So it's almost like working out a framework where you're absolutely essential, and then where we can taper you off and look for ways of being able to do that. So is it, having like an after hours emergency number, for example? Like, I'm just picking that as an example of something, because yes, I appreciate that what you do is very important to your customers, but you're also really important as well. Like, your time is important, your family is important. What you touched on, Roz, about people starting up businesses for the freedom and flexibility and end up absolutely, like, with no freedom and flexibility. So you need to start as you mean to continue. You need to communicate to your clients, this is what happens in the event of, this is, this is when I'm available, and know when to, like, when enough is enough. Like, where is the line? You need to establish that line. And I think what happens when we're in a service-based business is we're so reliant on our clients to give us business that we forget that actually we can dictate how we work with them. We can, because it's our business, just like the dentist does, just like your GP does, just like other service providers do. And, if we're getting down to brass tacks, like doctors, they actually save lives. We're not saving lives. We're enhancing lives. We're making people's lives wonderful, but we're not, and we're not an ambulance driver. And you know what? Even the ambulance drivers don't get to the patient in time sometimes. And I know that I'm probably getting a bit ranty, but I get really upset that, when I hear stories of like, oh, I had to leave the birthday party to take the call from the client who was screaming at me down the phone from the airport because blah, blah, blah. And I know that that is a very real situation because I have been in those experiences and I've seen it, but you have to communicate. You have to let your customers know when they can and can't get hold of you and what they can and can't for. And in the event of, this is where you go. And it's also about coming at that from a proactive place, setting up your working time to work for you, so that you can have that freedom, flexibility. And okay, yes, right, you're going to be there for your kids between 3 and 5 in the afternoon, but that you then, in order to be able to do that, you do need to jump back online when they've gone to bed from, 2 nights a week from 7:30 till 9:30 or whatever. If your children go to bed at 7:30, that's really fantastic. But I know that a lot of people don't. So
7 o'clock for me, 7 o'clock. That's it.
But it's working out like those things that work for you and putting yourself in the driver's seat, because you don't want to live your entire life according to other people's agendas. You can't. You will burn out. There is no wonderful end result of living your life that way. There isn't, and I've seen it, and it's not pretty.
I've been in those positions myself where I didn't have the clear boundaries, or I didn't have the information out there for my clients. And I look back on my own self now in my business and say, Ros, you're such a goose. I've been, being wheeled into theatre in a hospital, and I've got my laptop on me, and my mum took a photo and she said, "Are you kidding me? You are working." And I'm like, "But I've got to ticket flights, or, this has to happen." And she was like, "No, don't be such a goose. You are on your way to the operating theatre and you are trying to ticket flights. That is ridiculous." But now, like, I've learned these things over time, and even having a baby, that changed my world. I physically couldn't pick up the phone, and I felt so guilty. But nobody ever told me that, okay, a baby is actually going to take you all day to look after. You're not going to be able to just put it down and concentrate on your business. And this is where I've also seen in business the peaks and the troughs as well, where I've lost business because I haven't communicated correctly. And that's my own fault. But I am very clear now that I don't work before I take Jackson to school. So 9:30 in the morning, I'm very fierce with going and getting my coffee down by the beach and coming home, but that takes time. And then also in the afternoon, I want to be able to pick him up. I want to be able to take him to his activities. So if that means that my work schedule is shortened, or I need to fit everything within these times, then I also know that I need the support outside of these hours to have the right people on my team that can take those calls in the hours that I'm not available, or to get back to clients when I'm not available to do so. And that's just designing the business that I want to have. It's not the same for everybody, but it is being very fierce with those boundaries to say, okay, if you're going to call me at 7:00 at night, sorry, but I'm probably putting my son to sleep. But I also know when all of my clients are traveling, I block that time. So if something was to happen, I can be available if I need to be, to go into emergency response. And that's where I also communicate with my clients and say, look, I may not be holding your hand at the airport to get your passport across or get you that seat ticket right there, but I am in the background, and I will follow you through your trip. If I see something coming up, I will be the first person on it. So it's communicating. And I agree with you. And I think that that's an awesome point to get across, is to say that you just need to talk to your clients and get it out there.
And you touched on that too, Ros, about the infrastructure in your business look, emergencies do happen, but if you're doing your job as that incredible, service provider, interpreter of the information, the seer of the red flags, which is what you are, right? You know, coming back to, stuff that other people don't know. You know all the things that need to be considered before a trip, for example. So is it an automated email that they get 24 hours from your business saying, hey, don't forget your flight's at 5:00 tomorrow afternoon. Have you got your boom, boom, boom? Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to check in. Like, just put yourself in the shoes, walk through the shoes, like walk in the shoes of your customer, and make sure that you've covered that all off. And, the way that we can automate things in our businesses now is incredible, is to be able to, have all of that just happening magically for us. And whether it is that we have help, or just knowing that the work that you are doing during the time that you have available. So like, you're very boundaried with your time, Ros, and it's like, okay, after 9:30, when I do sit down at my desk today, that you are doing the work that only you can do in your business, like that high value zone of genius work. That's where you should be spending your days. And then the other stuff, can we automate it? Can we get someone else to do it? Does it need to be done at all? If you've come from a bigger organization or a different business, just because that's the way they did it, does it work for you? If it doesn't, change it. Like, you're the boss. You get to, that's the great thing about having your own business, is that you don't like to, like I talked about, the recruitment thing earlier, and having to do 100 calls a week, 20 calls a day. And we had to do it every morning from 9:00, and we had to be done by 11. Now, okay, the calls might still need to be done, but 9 till 11, that might be prime thinking time for you. So do it straight after lunch or whatever works for you. I don't know, but this is the.
No, absolutely. I think with that as well, and with any service provider out there too, I mean, for us in our travel business, we have the booking process all mapped out. And we also have, for the travel industry, a 67-step booking process. So that, I know it's crazy, right? 67 steps.
But I can imagine how that would be, for sure. For sure.
Because there are so many different things that we have to do. But I wanted to set that up so that every single booking has exactly the same thing happen. Like every booking is different. I get that, but there are things that we can be doing to automate along the way, to be sending out reminders, to tick off that clients have got their insurance. And it is a tick off thing for a travel professional to say, yes, this is done. Yes, this is done. Or yes, now send this automated email, or they're home from a trip. What can we do to, acknowledge that and thank them, or to find out how it went, or get a testimonial or a feedback on their trip. There are a lot of things that we can be doing. And if we've got a system in place that can have some automation to help you, there's no thinking in that. But it's also freeing up your time, as you say, to do the higher level tasks. And I love that you can have that balance, right?
You can. And it just frees up all that mental real estate as well. It frees up those, and we've all been there, right? When you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, shit, sorry, I'm swearing, but did I issue those tickets? I didn't remind them that they need to get the ESTA thing. I don't even know if they still do that in the US, but just that sort of stuff and because as part of my role when I was, an EA many years ago, I used to have to do all the travel bookings for very busy, complicated itineraries and stuff. And it was the stuff that used to wake me up in the middle of the night. So the thought of you guys having like that en masse all the time, that freaks me out. So
the pressure, the stress,
automate it.
Right. But that's a really good point to make, that you as an executive assistant or an EA or coming from that corporate side, that was a headache for you. Whereas for us, that's our zone of genius.
Yeah.
And juggling all those balls and knowing who's traveling. Like I used to, one of my clients who is still a client, she used to call me literally and she'd be like, okay, Ros, what time's my flight tomorrow? And it would drive me mental because I'm like, I sent you all those emails. Shouldn't it all be in your calendar? But she relied on me because I would intrinsically know it. And I knew that across, a couple of hundred clients of mine, they could call me and I would know, yes, you're on this flight. This is the time you're flying. Make sure you check in now. And I would know that off the top of my head. I don't know that anymore.
No.
I had to educate my clients to say, go here.
Read your emails. Read your emails. Yes.
I've already added that to your calendar. This has all come through to you. You've got your step-by-step instructions and they know that's where to go. But that is, again, it comes back to communication and education for your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. All right. So there's a number of different things that you and I could go on and on and on about on this episode. I just love being able to talk with you, Michelle, because you and I, we love business.
We do.
We both love working with business owners. We both love seeing the progress and how people are improving and giving them the strategies and tools to move forward. So can you tell me a little bit about, who do you work with and what's the work that you do?
So as I've alluded to, like I work with across a number of industries. So, but the commonality is as they are all female solopreneurs who are working on their own in, building their own service-based business. And essentially what I do for them is I'm like that second brain in their business. So I'm like the business partner that without the financial investment or obligations on their part either. So, they do pay me obviously, but not a partner salary.
You don't get a bonus within the business.
No, sadly not. And God, you know what? There are some businesses that I work with. I'm like, Jesus, I should have invested with them because they are really like kicking goals. But But no, so they're all solopreneurs, and essentially what I do is I help them overcome the overwhelm and the operational challenges of running a business themselves. So it's that sounding board, the voice of reason, so that, you know, to give them, because you know what it's like, right? You're running a business by yourself. You might be surrounded by great people, you know, in your personal life, family, friends, that kind of thing. But often you are not surrounded by other people who get it, and not so much getting it, but know ways to change things or improve things or overcome those challenges or thrash out ideas with. And that's missing in a lot of people's lives. And so I am that person, and, you know, someone to celebrate the highs and, you know, commiserate the lows, and, you know, share plan, like, you know, create plans, share them, bring them to life, and keep them accountable as well is another big part of the work that I do. Not in a sort of school teachery kind of way, but again, where we can operate our businesses in a bit of a bubble. Like, it's like, well, I can sit here all day and no one's actually going to know if I, you know, bloody made those calls or whatever it is that you know that you should be doing, but you don't do it. Whereas if you've, you know, with someone like me or you in their lives, it's like, well, I've told someone that I'm going to do this, so now I actually need to do it. But it's very tailored, the work that I do. So I meet these women where they are. So I take into consideration their whole life. It's not like Michelle's 7 steps to business success and I roll that out and everyone has to follow the bouncy ball. It's very much tailored to the unique situation that each woman is in at the time. So a lot of the women that I work with have families or want to start a family. That's something that I find myself doing, you know, a lot at the moment, is helping people prepare their businesses for babies, or
I wish I had that. I wish I had you in my corner before I had Jackson, because I had no idea what was coming. And nobody told me. Like everyone said, it's the most amazing time of your life. But nobody told me, or nobody was actually in my corner to say, well, this is going to change. And we're going to need to put some things in place to ensure that you can take care of yourself and the baby, as well as the business still operates. So, oh God, I wish I had somebody like you in my corner, or even you, Michelle, back then.
I was working for someone else then who actually, very sadly, she had 2 babies in quite quick succession and didn't have great sort of plans in place. And she was, like you were saying before, Roz, you know, working on her laptop while having contractions because there was invoices that needed to go out that, you know, she hadn't put those systems in place to make sure that things were covered while she was able to just enjoy that really special time. And I think because my kids are a little bit older now, that you know, we're out of that baby stage, but it goes so quickly. And so I think I come at it with experience, knowing what it is really truly like on the other side.
And having worked with so many women as well, in your experience, you've seen the different sides of things and how it can work for some people but not for others. And
that's right.
It really comes down to the personality of them, and, you know, the support structure around them. There are so many different things. So I love that you're able to do that for other people, and particularly for women business owners. You know, we both have that passion in trying to help as many people succeed and come through this time and build the business of their dreams, because I know you're a huge champion, and you say yourself that you're a cheerleader and the woman behind the woman.
Massive cheerleader for women. Yeah, I just want, and because I know that it doesn't need to be difficult, right? I mean, I'm not saying running business is easy. It's, you know, but it doesn't need to be heartbreakingly painful. And it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And if it is that bad, you need to seek help. You know, I'm not saying, you know, like pick me, but I'm just saying, like, find there is an alternative. It doesn't need to be like that. There is an easier way. And I just want everyone to know that. There's the H word that I won't even use because I can't bear it, that advocacy of, that hustle culture.
Oh, okay. Right.
Where,
I was like,
yeah,
wait a second, I'm trying to
oh
find it.
my
I'm trying to find
God.
it.
I can't say
I'm
this,
the same.
like hustle, grind, all that sort of thing. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, yes, we need to work, but we don't need to compromise our entire lives
Agreed.
to
Yeah.
build a business. We don't.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you on that. I think that there are times to be running in sprints and marathons, and there are times to take care of yourself as well. And it's finding that balance, but that is also a really hard thing. So one of the things, and we'll finish off on this, is really around the accountability and planning. Like, I know you work with your clients to do some planning work. How does that all come into play?
Look, I think planning, again, it's crafting that life that we want, right? It's crafting the business that we want. It's coming and being as service providers, so much of our work can be very reactive. It can be like, we're sort of almost in the hands of what can feel like we're always in the hands of our clients and what they need at any given moment. But I really believe in the power of planning to set up the way that you're, whether it's looking at an annual plan or a quarterly plan, monthly, even daily, like how you want things to run, and putting yourself in the driver's seat. I think it's just so, so important because it gives you that kind of overarching look at, well, what are we doing this for? Like, what's it all for? Without a plan, like what are we just sort of flying by the seat of our pants? And look, we may as well just go and work for someone else. I mean, probably be a lot easier. The potential is there to, it's definitely more stable and all of this sort of thing. But with a plan in place for how you want things to play out, you are putting yourself in the driver's seat. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for that. And fortunately, I work with a lot of women who really value that process, and having a plan and sticking to the plan, because essentially, if you follow you set up that plan, you carve out the action steps and do the action steps, then miraculously things just happen like they do. That's how we get from where we are now to where we want to be. It's just all of those incremental actions that we have intentionally set out to do and tried not to get derailed too much, which is, it can be difficult. It's not like a perfect science, but I think starting off in that proactive place is definitely the right
I
thing
agree.
to do. Yeah,
having that plan and knowing the direction that you're going in, or you want to go in, and mean to reach that, I think is a really important part of any business, whether you are just starting out or you've been doing it for a few years, or even 10, 15 years. Having that plan and always working towards it, reaching those goals, making sure that they're realistic. So I know that this is something you and I also agree on, is sometimes we can get so caught up in having the list of things to do, or we go, oh yeah, we've got to have 5 things over this next 3 months to achieve, or 10 things, or whatever it might be. And we see the blank document and we almost feel inclined to fill it all out, but that's not the case. And you and I agree on this. How do you sort of pre-frame that?
So I'm a huge advocate of white space. We need white space in our lives. If we plan for every single minute of the day, week, month, whatever, you're not giving yourself any space to think, and just be. And that, I don't know about you, Ros, but when you go and have your coffee down at the beach in the mornings, for me, mine is like my walk in the morning. That is when I get you get your best ideas. You do not get your best ideas sitting at your desk in front of your computer screen all day long. So you must have that white space to let yourself be, but also there needs to be contingency, because life does happen. Clients do have emergencies, kids do get sick. The car will get a flat tire when you're, just done a $300 grocery shop of frozen goods, on a 30-degree day, like stuff.
I'm guessing here that you're speaking from experience.
Oh, no, actually, you know what, it hasn't. But I'm just like I'm thinking of things that can happen that can derail people who are planned and scheduled to the eyeballs. I think there is there needs to be a bit of a blend of yes, we need the plans, we need the structure, we need that framework of what to work towards, but and also coming back to meeting people where they are. And you and I are both a fan of Gretchen Rubin, and she has her 4 tendencies, and not everyone is an upholder or an obliger, right? So there are some people who are rebels and they do not want to stick to a plan. They do not want, so it's meeting people where they are and going, okay, well, maybe let's look at like a rhythm to life as opposed to a routine. And that's,
oh my gosh, you've just brought up for me. The Rhythm of Life was actually a song that we made a dance to in school. The rhythm of life is a powerful dream in the rhythm. So I can't sing. And I'm really sorry for that, everybody.
It's from Sweet Charity, the musical.
I have no idea, but I remember dancing to it in school.
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's from the musical Sweet Charity. I think. I could be completely wrong, but
I've just completely gone off on a tangent. Sorry. Dancing was my thing at school. I know that you loved mine as well. Even after I left school, it was still a big part of my world with competing, and I danced with the Sydney Dance Company for a while in my early 20s because I just loved going to the classes and I loved the energy that it gave me. You still dance, right?
I do. Yeah. Well, I haven't obviously for
COVID,
quite a few months, and also I had a foot injury earlier in the year, so it has been a while. But I absolutely love it. That's my release. Like that is my exercise of choice. Yeah, definitely. I love it. I'm not a runner. You won't ever see me running a marathon or doing stuff. I'm running. There's a fire. So run as well. Well,
I can't wait, Michelle, for you and I to catch up. I know we'll be seeing each other in December, but to have a great boogie and a dance together, that will definitely be something that we can get lots of photos of and remember for a long time to come. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here today and sharing your knowledge and your experience and your passion for the service industry. I really appreciate it, and sharing such wonderful information with the Travel Agent Achievers community. If people want to find you, how do they do that?
So best place to find me is my website, which is michellebroadbent.com.au. I also hang out on Instagram. So I'm at Mish, and that's MICH Broadbent there. And, you can DM me through there, or but website's probably the best place.
And you also have your own podcast.
I do, yeah. Your Business Boost is the name of my podcast, and that comes out every Monday morning. And that's where I share sort of insights and the sort of behind the scenes of business, and lots of tips and practical advice and interviews with other amazing business women. And so if you would like to listen to, if you want more of me, if you haven't heard enough, and we have talked a lot, but if you want some more, you can find me. Just look me up on your favorite podcast app. It's Your Business Boost with Michelle Broadbent.
Love it. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. As I said, I can't wait to see you in December. Take care of yourself, and we will speak very, very soon.
Thanks so much, Roz. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. That was a really great conversation with Michelle Broadbent. I hope you took a lot of information out of it, but you also had some home truths, and you understood some of the things that we are both passionate about with regards to boundaries and, understanding who your clients are and how you can serve them better with breaking things down, making it easier for the clients to connect with you, and also you connect with them. one of the big things that Michelle and I are both passionate about is accountability and planning. So if you're not a part of our Facebook group, the Achievers in Travel Accountability Facebook group, then please jump into that, because I love to see you declare what you're working on and then celebrating with you at the end as well by achieving those incredible goals that I know you set out and you want for your business as well. And on another note, talking about planning, we have upcoming our in-person planning event in Sydney coming up in December. I have two options. So we have one in December and also one in January 2022. So if you want to get your business organized, on track, planned out, and what you want to do and what you want to promote, how you want to do things for 2022, do things differently, really look towards scaling your business and also getting the right clients on board for you, then check out the travelagentachievers.com website. We'll have a link to the planning session as well inside the show notes. I believe it's travelagentachievers.com/planning day, so that you can book your place before it fills up, and we will see you live and in person in Sydney, Australia very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of the week. I look forward to talking to you very soon. Bye for now.